Hello, Daniel, and the rest of the those folks who are hopefully listening and waiting. Well, let's talk about the election. We'll start off with the election. And it seems that common sense people are becoming more and more aware, more and more addressing it and complaining about what's happening. We have higher grocery prices, higher crime rates, higher inflation, and more illegal immigration. And more people let it be known that they're aware of it. And it's reflecting in the polls. Trump, I read, has in Arizona, he's a 50 to 45. Also, he's leading in all the battleground states. And he has tremendous following, tremendous. Black, Hispanic are joining in a Trump wave. But he also has some enemies, even in the Republican Party. I see where Nikki Haley's leadership team in Michigan, and they endorsed Vice President Harris, encouraged other Republicans to join them supporting Vice President Harris. But not all the politicians are against Trump, Democratic and Republican. As an example, Pennsylvania's favorite Democratic senator, the hood-wearing and summer shorts, John Fetterman, Senator Fetterman, said that Trump has a special kind of hold, that he's remade the Republican Party, and he has a special kind of place in Pennsylvania. And he went on to say, and I think that's only deepened after that first assassination attempt. So even the Democrats have some positive words to say. And but there again, as Fetterman mentioned, the assassination, still nothing since the January 13th investigation from the FBI, Secret Service, or Homeland Security. Local police officials speak out of how they were ignored and disrespected. And they mentioned that they even offered drones at the time, and they were ignored. The FBI and the federal government quickly took control of the site, washed down the building before much could be examined. The shooter's body was shipped away for a quick autopsy was performed. No information on that. And the body was quickly cremated. The second assassination attempt in Florida is also covered in fog and smoke. Where did he get all the money to travel to and from the Ukraine and travel around the country and doing all that he did? He was a felon, yet he had access to buy an unregistered gun in Florida. Knew where to go on the golf course, the whole spiel. Nothing about him. In fact, Governor DeSantis had a press conference recently, and a reporter asked if the feds are cooperating with the investigation. The governor responded, no, they're not being cooperative. And the governor replied, Florida has every right to be involved. There's multiple violations under Florida law. And the main one, of course, is attempted murder, weapons, and other things. Now, the federal government is very hard to release much information about these two assassins. However, they did release a letter that Ryan released, the Florida assassin. And in his letter, he said that he might get caught, and if he did fail, there's a $150,000 reward for anyone to complete the job. Now, the Department of Justice, FBI, they released that information, letting everybody know there's $150,000 to anyone to complete the job. It is amazing what our federal government does and what they fail to do. One of the points that I happened to see in the paper was child trafficking. Now, in August 19th, it was reported and released in September that the Department of Homeland Security announced they had lost track of over 300,000 children. That's since 2021. These children were detained, processed by the federal government's unaccompanied children program, and eventually released per the Department of Homeland Security. They don't know where any of them are, or very few of them. I shudder to think what happened to these kids. I really don't want to even discuss what could have happened to them. Just pray for those children. But we must be aware what our government is doing. That case in point. And why haven't we been informed? The main reason that we have so many problems in this country is our mainstream media. And it's the greatest challenge to our society. If our people are not informed or misinformed, it leads to terrible results, as example of missing of 300,000 children. I started to peel back in my own life, the onion skin of information, what they've been keeping from us. And I came to the conclusion we have to open our eyes and minds to some of the horrific truths that's starting to appear in front of us. And the news media is starting to peel away a little bit. I think in my own life, I recall my younger years, I used to get up every morning in high school, in fact, and go to Mass every morning. And I was a very religious young man and even considered being a priest at one time. And I looked at priests and nuns, and they were highly respected and revered. I recall that a policeman would never give a policeman would never give a ticket, speeding ticket or whatever, to a priest or a minister. Wherever they went, they were revered and respected. In a restaurant, I know as a kid, whenever a priest would walk in the room, we all stood up. And when that pedophile priest scandal broke out, I couldn't believe it. That was the first indication that this, peeling back that onion skin, that I happened to notice something. It exposed and opened my mind and exposed me to some other scandals and lies to be exposed. And I started to look at finding out what was true, challenging the camouflage of the news media and what lies are being fed. And it's become a life-changing experience. I don't make many friends because I tell the truth, but I feel more comfortable in my own skin by doing it that way. As a kid, I believed that all the priests and ministers were saints, and that all the liberals were loving, kind, forgiving, open-minded, and wanted best for everyone. That was liberal to me. And after accepting reality a little bit, I stopped wearing those rose-colored glasses and started to see the world as it really is. Filled with sinners, filled with saints, many dishonest people, yet more honest people. There are some cruel people out there, but there's many more kind people. But we must develop to see what is real and accept the difference between those characters and those situations, and see for ourselves which is which. We have to make our own decisions for a clearer life. And in this little discussion, I want to bring a little eye opener to a fact of reality and some of the items that we've been lied to for a long, long time. This is a touchy subject, but it's a one that we have to address, and this is the first one of many that I hope to look at reality in some areas. And that was Israel, and our impression and vision of Israel. And just recently, I was kind of shocked at the exploding devices in Lebanon, although the Israelis were thrilled with the results. Officially, the devices hit Hezbollah at a critical moment. A brilliant move, killing and crippling up the levels of the Hezbollah. On that quiet Friday afternoon, I watched a chap by the name of Major Scott Ritter. He was a Marine major. And he addressed this, and he said this program took years to set up, cost millions of dollars to put it together. But it could only be used one time. Because once you understand it, you don't do it anymore. And that one time should be a critical time, like when an army is getting ready to invade, like if they're getting ready to invade Lebanon, that would be the time to do it. When the troops were a little confused in the opening battles or whatever, to lose that communication system. But they didn't do that. They did it on Friday afternoon. And so it didn't work as well as it could have, I guess. It killed some members of Hezbollah, but many times more, it killed innocent people and children. These devices weren't only sold to Hezbollah, but to other areas as well. And people who used them were hospital staff, because you're not allowed to use cell phones in a hospital. And emergency EMs, they used them. And many of them were blown up, with some being killed, others being severely wounded and blinded, losing hands, and the like. So this great success that the Israelis claimed about, well, we'll see the results of it. As a result, Israel is becoming more of a rogue state, creating itself as a terrorist organization, because that was a terrorist weapon and illegal in the laws of warfare. And many of these countries now are looking at these cell phones, computers, they could be next. And what's going to happen to us? Well, we may not be able to get on an airplane with a cell phone, may not be able to get on a computer, because of this crime against humanity that caused terror throughout the world. Could cause terror throughout the world. And now we're confronted with the idea that we all might be carrying a weapon, a grenade without a pin. And a few months ago, 5 or 6 months ago, there was the helicopter crash with the premier of Iran. was killed in that crash, and they couldn't figure out why. And it must have been the fog of the mountains or whatever. But now there's a photo showing that the premier of Iran was carrying one of these pager type systems, device. And a member of the parliament suggested that the former president may have been using one of those pagers when that helicopter blew up. If you wanted to start a war with Iran, that would be a good way to do it. Which leads us to taking off the sunglasses of Israel, not only for that attack or the genocide that's happening in Gaza. And one of the misinformation or lies that we were told for over the years is that Israel is a Jewish country that just wants to get along with their neighbors. And we were always told to support them. They were the only people like us in the Middle East. And all the problem was because these other people, they were causing the problems. We were never told that Jews and Arabs lived together for thousands of years in the Holy Land. They seemed to get along. They've been fighting in that. But it seems that what happened was that after the First World War I ended, Turkey was on the losing side. And it had areas, it was called the Ottoman Empire, nearly 1 million square miles of territory, including most of the Middle East. This empire was controlled by the Turks for 500 or 600 years. But, and it also included the peoples, the Arabs, the Kurds, Greeks, Armenians, Jews, and other ethnic groups. Most of this land was, after the war, when they surrendered, they turned this property, a part of the treaty was turned over to the British Empire for England's control. And they had it for a while, and they decided to divide it up into different countries like Saudi Arabia, Iran, Kuwait, Jordan, and other countries. And that was after the First World War, 1917, 18, around that neighborhood. But even before the war ended, a member of the Rothschild family contacted a senior distinguished member of the Scottish Parliament by the name of James Balfour. And he petitioned him for a Jewish, an area where the Jewish could be at home, a home for the Jewish people. And James Balfour took it to members of the Parliament, and he wrote a letter, and it was called the Balfour Document, I think it's called, Declaration, the Balfour Declaration. But in it, when he replied to Mr. Rothschild, and the point of it was for a Jewish home in Palestine. And in the letter, he clearly wrote, "It is being clearly understood that nothing shall be done which may prejudice the civil and religious rights of existing non-Jewish communities in Palestine." So more or less he was saying it's fine to bring immigration of more Jews into Palestine. And they had a program to set it up, and they brought more and more Jews into Palestine. And after a while, with the immigration of Jews increased, things were all right. And then after the Second World War, more Jews wanted in because of the atrocities of the Nazis in Europe. And in the more Jews that were coming into the country became more independent and more dominant, you might say. And they turned and became terrorists themselves, the Jewish did. And in July of 1946, they blew up the King George Hotel, killing over 90 people. Most of them were British soldiers and the like in that hotel. That was their headquarters. And it got to the point where they wanted their own independent country. And then in May of 1948, a few years later, after blowing up the hotel, the President Truman recognized a provincial Jewish government, actually giving him the authority to create a Jewish state. So it was no longer just a place for, it was no longer a home for Jewish people, but Israel became a Jewish state that made all the laws and regulations and the right of the state to take property and control Palestinians with apartheid, which is prohibited by international law. So the immigrants formed their own state. And doing so, it was a Jewish state, not an Arab Jewish state, but a Jewish state with Jewish in control of everything. And so when they wanted to take property for their immigrants, they would just take it from the Palestinian people. And it ended up where the Palestinians tried to fight back, and 75 years later, still trying to fight back. But I didn't understand much of that at all, at any rate. I just thought it was, Arabs hated Jews, and that was it. But I didn't. Nothing really mattered to me that much. And then I remember in 1967, there was a ship called the Liberty, USS Liberty, and it was a U.S. military intelligence ship. It was floating in the sea off of Israel, and the Liberty was engaged in peaceful activity, and they were attacked by the Israeli Air Force. They came over where the ship had a big American flag on it, and it was clearly marked. And it was a clear, sunny afternoon. One plane buzzed over, and the crews were waving. They even tilted the wings to let them know that they were there. And then the numerous planes came back, and the U.S. Liberty was attacked. Israel desperately tried to sink the ship with repeated attacks. They killed 34 American sailors, and 157 were wounded, but the ship didn't sink. There was never a clear explanation of whatever happened. They just say, well, it was a misunderstanding. And President Johnson, which was noted for his truthfulness, said, well, he'd accept that, no problem. They were friends. But when you killed 35 American sailors and almost sink an American ship, I question their friendship. We'd been lied to. Just like we've been lied to about the Kennedy assassination. Just bear with me for 1 second here. I get this thing squared away. As I said, the Kennedy assassination, after 75 years, we still haven't released all the information about that. We lied about the Tonkin Bay in 64 that got us involved in Vietnam. I remember that well. We were lied about the weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. Got us involved in Iraq. 55,000 Americans were killed in Vietnam. How many thousands were killed in Iraq? We were lied to about Russiagate with Donald Trump, which ruined his presidency. We were lied about Hunter's laptop that got his father into the presidency. We were lied about Kamala Harris's activities, including the bomb that was planted at her office on January 6th. Hardly a word about it, but there's all kinds of videos. Who was planted by? It was planted by the police, and then made a big to-do about it, and then nothing happened. It was a pipe bomb. 3.5 years later, after January 6th, the government's still lying about how many undercover agents were drummed up as Trump supporters, causing problems. We don't know. But we cannot and should not accept these continued lies. When we stop accepting their lies and accept and seek the truth, then our minds will be clear and our decisions will be better. And we learn what the truth is by different sources. Anything that I say, challenge it. You say, in that case, that wears a black hat and whatever. But the truth is out there, and the more we find about the truth, the happier we are. Accepting some of these rare or raw truths is not comfortable, but it's rewarding. And I'll continue to follow the light of the truth and pass on what I can when I can. And I hope you have a good day, because we are winning. Trump is doing well. The country's getting back, even though it's getting back. And we hope to see you soon. Good day.